Hello and happy Thursday from me and my colic. It's fine. Today we're talking about the step-by-step process of launching a marketing campaign and everything that goes into it. For a little bit of context, my name is Erica. I run a project management consulting firm, but I actually got my start in marketing. So I was a marketing consultant from 2018 to 2023, and then I started to bridge the gap. In 2023, I got my PMP certification, and I had been practicing project management for about 5 years before that. And then I started to kind of create a bridge from marketing to project management by doing marketing project management. And that was managing a lot of marketing campaigns and helping companies fill in the gaps in this process that we're about to walk through. Because a lot of them would skip certain steps, and it was very apparent in their ROI and the frustrations that they shared when it came to their marketing. And now I do full-time project management. I still do some marketing project management. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment and we can have a conversation about it. This is literally driving me insane. No amount of like a slick thing will help it. I don't know if anybody has, oh my God, it's getting worse. Okay, so I'm going to be referring to my notes as I always do to make sure I don't miss anything, but let's talk about the step-by-step of setting up a marketing campaign. So the first thing we're doing before anything else is we're talking about our campaign goals. A lot of people will have a goal, right? Like I'm running something for a client right now where they were like, we just want to get more leads. It's like, okay, great. So let's set a more structured goal. So I like to have companies start with SMART goals because it's a framework that people are familiar with, and that is specific, measurable, actionable, relevant, and time-bound goals. So if you can hit all of those, you probably have a pretty well-rounded goal. So it's like, why do you want to get leads? What is the bigger thing that you're trying to drive? Are we working against like an urgency window here? More information, because all of that is going to inform the next steps. So the next thing is target audience research. And here's where so many companies go wrong. I need a sip of coffee. So a lot of companies, when I ask them like, who's your target audience? They tell me and I'm like, awesome. Like, where did you find that information? Like, how do you go about pulling this? And they say Google Analytics. And I say, oh boy, okay, I'm gonna hold your hand when I say this. Google Analytics paints only part of the picture, so it's only web traffic, and half these people aren't even IP excluding themselves or their employees, so their target audience can be very skewed. Google Analytics does a pretty good job of filtering out bots. However, it just is not an all-encompassing picture of who your target audience is, because it cannot measure detailed psychographics like motivations, pain points, purchasing behavior, aside from like abandoned cart, like very standard metrics. So you only have, I would say, about 40% of the picture. So you're still 60% of shooting arrows into the dark. So my recommendation is to hire a market researcher or have a market research team, allocate some budget for that. And the amount of time you're going to save throughout the rest of your campaign and the amount, like the increase you're going to have in ROI, sorry, there's something like sticky on my chin, will pay tenfold for how you, like if you do a contract or if you just allocate more dollars to a market research team. They can go in and pull those psychographics and actually tell you, like, is your buyer, are they analytical? Do they like numbers and ROI? Are they assertive? Do they just want you to give it to them straight and then they want to go make a decision? Are they emotional? There's a lot of different buyer types, and you want to make sure that you explore all of those before you just start throwing dollars at a marketing campaign. All right, the next thing is competitive analysis, and your market research team should be able to cover this, but just make sure that you know who and I'm going to link 2 TikTok videos in my description. One is going to help you figure out who your competitors are, and the second is going to help you analyze them. So we'll look at things like what they offer, pricing, target audience, differentiators, strengths, and weaknesses. And we're not going to base our strategy off of that, but it will inspire pieces of your marketing campaign. So as you're doing all of this, you're starting to figure out what channels your audience responds to. And a big thing here is to think about, like, with your goal, is your goal awareness? Are you super top of funnel? Is it lead gen? Are you super bottom of funnel? Are you somewhere in the middle? Like you need to do nurturing. A lot of your people or a lot of the target audience is in like a consideration phase and they just need to be convinced to get pushed over the finish line to the close. Are you trying to increase retention or get past customers? Are you trying to delight your customers? So thinking about that, you also need to make a plan for budget allocation. So thinking about like how much money do we have to spend on this campaign and where do we want those dollars to go? All right, we're gonna carve out a piece for market research. Now, our research team, they looked at our persona, they looked at past performance, they looked at our competitors, and we've decided that we wanna do this channel, this channel, and this channel. So let's say that you are in the bottom, like you're targeting bottom of funnel people who are pretty much ready to purchase. You might spend 60% of your budget in Google search ads, which are usually the highest performer for people in like with very high intent keywords that are searching. Maybe you would do some influencer collaborations. If you're more awareness, maybe you would do Facebook ads. Maybe you would do more organic. Maybe you would pay for a billboard if you're very local. Maybe you would do a podcast ad on a relevant podcast network. Other things to take into accountability is if there is a seasonality aspect to your campaign, and then if there's testing that needs to be done. Can you A/B test? A/B testing is when you run the exact, so for example, with like an advertisement, you would run 2 Google search ads, but you would just change one element. So maybe it would be a different headline, or a different landing page that you're sending people to, and then you can test how the 2 perform. A/B tests are very effective, and I would highly recommend that you allocate some of your budget to doing some testing as the campaign gets going, unless you've done so much testing in your time that you have all this information and you know exactly what your audience responds to and how. So the next thing we go into is strategy development. So you have all of this information that you're inputting into your strategy, and that is a big portion of the strategy. So you know your goal, you know who you're talking to, you know who your competitors are talking to and how they're doing it, and you know how you're allocating your budget. So next you need to craft a compelling message. And this is where you're going to lean so heavily on your audience research to figure out how they want to be spoken to and what activates them to purchase. So this is a concept I learned from Savannah Jordan. And I knew the concept before, but I really like the way that she words it. So she has the podcast Running with the Wolves, and I believe it's Wolf Agency or Wolf Creative Agency. I'll tag it below, but she has phenomenal content and a really nice content framework too that I would highly recommend for any businesses to go learn from. But something she talks about is that if you're putting out all this great content and your audience is interacting, but they're not buying, it's because you're not activating them correctly. And I can think of so many instances that I've seen clients' campaigns fall flat, and I think it comes down, it comes down to them not being able to activate their audience to purchase. So you have to be able to lean on that market research to know how to speak to your audience, how to set up your campaigns, what is a compelling message to them, what will activate them to purchase, what are their pain points, how can we speak to them, work that into your campaign strategy, and that is your compelling message. And then the second part is figuring out the customer journey. So I'm going to move to a screen share really fast. Okay, so we're gonna talk about the customer journey, and I'm using ClickUp. You can too. I need to go to templates, browse templates. We're just gonna look at a template here. Okay, so even if your campaign is here in this consideration phase, you are gonna still wanna map out what happens in the awareness, like how they get to consideration, and then what needs to happen to move them to conversion. And there's probably more than just these 3 phases, right? These are some questions to help you get going. What is the customer doing that's triggering them to enter one of these phases? What are they feeling? Who is responsible for the customer? This is another great way from a project management standpoint to capture who is working on what for the campaign. It helps establish role clarity, it helps prevent delays, and it's going to make your campaigns more effective because there's really no balls being dropped if you know exactly who's responsible for what and when. And then what are the opportunities for the business, your business, in each of these stages. So I really recommend putting together one of these maps as part of your strategy. And again, it needs to be a holistic map. So if your organization does not already have this, that is a bigger undertaking. But you should have like the big picture and then the zoomed in picture of where your campaign fits into that customer journey and how it is going to deliver ROI. So step 3 is to put together your copy, your visuals, all of your campaign assets. So depending on what channel and what medium you'll be using, you'll have your message and your strategy, and then using that message, you'll be able to inform the creative. I always recommend working with designers. They're going to be able to ask you the questions and make sure that everything aligns with your brand guide while still delivering on what your campaign goals are. So here's where you're, defining the copy, picking the visuals, doing the targeting. If you're in ads, you're like physically going into the ad networks and targeting different affinity audiences or ages, demographics, geographic, psychographics, things like that. And you're using your strategy, your research, your competitive research, all of that to inform every step of this. So the next step is optimization and monitoring, and your team will need to define what's going to happen on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual basis, depending on the duration of the campaign and kind of the urgency of when you need to see results. And you also need to come up with a plan of copy and design tweaks or, whatever assets are relevant to your campaign. You never just set it and forget it. So something that I do with clients is I set thresholds, and it's like, okay, if we haven't gotten, 150 purchases within the first 90 days, that's our flag that it's time to, change this. Or then like, if this doesn't happen, we're going to try a new image. If this doesn't happen, we're going to change up the copy. And you have to be careful here because you don't want to change too much at once. You want to just be constantly tweaking and testing. That's why we go back to that A/B testing and why I highly encourage you to build budget for that A/B test. But I always set parameters of if this, then that. So if we're below this success metric, then this is what we do. And we set those for different milestones throughout the project. So there's constantly somebody reviewing the data, reporting on it, tweaking, optimizing to get the best campaign results. The last step in a marketing campaign is reporting and reflecting. So you need some way to put the report together. You can lean on your market research team to put that report together, or you can have a project manager come in, like what my company does, and create a reporting framework that's company-wide. So everybody knows what type of dashboard they're looking at. I build automated dashboards for people where their project progress and their campaign progress automatically updates. So if leaders have a question, they can click on the project, click on the dashboard, and they have a snapshot of like, here's where we're at compared to our goal, compared to industry benchmark. Here's how many days are left in the campaign. Here's how much money has been spent against the budget. And then like any flags from the project manager, if there's like a risk response plan being enacted. So definitely create your report, and then you're gonna wanna interpret that data. And here's where I recommend you bring in your market researcher. So it's not just, I've seen so many marketing teams be like, well, our click-through rate was really strong, but our click rate was low, and I don't really know why, but I think that means bring in your market research team, have them interpret the data against all of that market research that they pulled. You're going to constantly learn more about your audience, and it's going to make your next campaign that much more successful. In that vein, document lessons learned. I recommend working with a project manager for this. Do a full campaign retrospective at the end. Make sure that you talk about what went well, what didn't go so well, and where you think that there's room for improvement the next time around. And then pull together a final campaign report to deliver to your leadership. Make sure you highlight that ROI bright and shiny at the top. Talk about all of the wins, talk about all of the lessons learned. They don't need everything. I think just like high level ROI, high level results, lessons learned, plan for improvement, shout out to team members, things like that. And then document that somewhere that everybody will be able to find it in the future, because that is going to help you or whoever's running the next campaign so much more. So that is my 2 cents from nearly a decade of experience being the person boots on the ground for the marketing campaign, being the strategist behind a marketing campaign, being the consultant in a marketing campaign, being the project manager in a marketing campaign. So I think I have a good deal of experience to weigh in here, and I'm sure that there is even, more tips out there that other creators could add to and add value for. So pop those in the comments if you have them. I would love to add to this list. Maybe we can come up together with like a huge list and I can convert it into a white paper. That's just like a free download for people. I would love to do that. So add to the conversation in the comments and subscribe for the next video.